Okay, 10 minutes. I'm going to change it from 5 minutes to 10 because I'm never only posting a 10-minute, I'm never only posting a 5-minute rant anyways. It's always like 10 or 15 minutes. So like, whatever, why don't I change my own rules? Let's go 10 minutes. Let's see if I can keep it to 10 minutes. Let's find a boundary that I can actually sit inside. Yeah, so 10 minutes on. What am I doing better in my life right now? Is that it? What is improved in my life recently? And what's clearly gotten better for me recently, and I'd say within the last few months, anywhere from the last like 2 to 3 to 6 months, has been my emotional response and my ability to manage my emotions. Is that the best way? In response to the difficulties and the challenges that I face as being somebody with a disability who uses a wheelchair. The first few years after my accident, I think have been like really difficult, really challenging because all these things are new. I mean, so many of these things are brand new to me, just from dealing with like how to get places and, dealing with my emotional response to the way people may or may not treat me differently or, ask me certain questions. And it's just been really hard. And I think that I've definitely, people that know me know that I've been in a phase where it's like, it's easy to be angry. It's easy to be frustrated, annoyed, almost constantly because there's just never ending hurdles and there's hurdles throughout the day. And because I didn't live most of my life with disability, I just didn't have a toolkit for that. It's just frustrating to go from being able to go from anywhere, go into any place I want to now, wow, there's so many places I can't go, and or something like this. And learning how to get into places I want to go and how to do that, that's a lot of work. But I think that I can see how in the past 6 months, we'll say, my evolution and my growth and my toolkit has expanded a lot, has expanded dramatically. And that's just because I've had to practice. I can't avoid the practice in a way. It just keeps happening. And I take pride in the fact that I'm somebody that works on myself. I want to get better at things. I'm very introspective. I think about things a lot. And I'm always sort of like open to how can I do things a better way, in my life and emotionally. And so there's a lot of things that I've had to learn and a lot of things that I put in my toolkit that has just had a big impact. And I'm enjoying the progression, and I'm really liking where I am now and where I believe I can get to with all of this. That's not to say that I'm trying to, I think it's really important for me to clarify that I'm not trying to make negative emotions like anger, annoyance, frustration, the bad guy. I don't believe that. I think a lot of people think that, don't be angry, you should just be positive and do everything to just be positive. And that's a kind of bypassing. While I understand that, I don't think that's the real problem. Anger, frustration, negative emotions are difficult for other people to absorb. They're difficult for us, and they're not like where we want to be. But anger, frustration, annoyance, that's not actually the problem. The problem is how we respond to these emotions, how I communicate what's coming up inside of me, how I relate to them. That is really like what I see as the big issue. I am not in conflict with being angry about things. But I think what's changed for the better for me recently is I can see like something makes me angry or something makes me annoyed, something makes me frustrated, and my options are expanding on what I can do with that. And recently I think that I've more often I am choosing something more softer, something funnier. I'm not avoiding conflict, but I'm also, for example, trying to inject humor into it a little bit more. So, yeah, this is annoying. Yeah, makes me angry, but how do I express that while softening it up a bit for myself and for other people? For example, using humor and trying to study that a little bit more because, I notice how for myself and for other people, if I feel compelled to tell a story or express something that just like made me really angry or frustrated, it's really hard for other people to take that, to absorb it. I know that because it's hard for me to take it from other people. It's not really like a enjoyable experience to sit down with somebody and listen to them like bitch for an hour, and just complain about life. It's not really a good time. So I know that's true for me, and that's something that I understand then for other people because, wow, I mean, I've had a lot to complain about. I've had a lot to bitch about these past few years. And I think a lot of things very valid to bitch about and complain about. Like it's been hard. And there's a lot that I'm allowed to be angry about and I'm allowed to be frustrated about. But at the same time, it's like, all right, well, I also have a tendency to let those emotions ruin my own day. And then in the end, it's like, yeah, but what am I doing about it? What am I going to do about these things that make me angry or frustrated? And ultimately, like, what kind of experience do I want to have more often here in life? And that is definitely not like being pissed off every day. I mean, that's not fun for me, for anybody. So it's like, all right, well, what? I mean, I think the hardest thing for, like, obviously my situation is like, I've got disability and that's a frustrating experience. So for other people, it's going to be something else. But how do I see that? All right, well, I can't change the fact that I'm in this situation. I can't change the fact that I got to use a wheelchair. I can't change the fact that like some people are going to look at me weird or some people are going to like say dumb shit to me. But I do have a lot of power and control about like how I respond to that. Like, what am I going to choose? And recently I've just been doing a better job, I think, not that it's my job, but doing better at picking something funnier and realizing that, this is just the way it is. And maybe I don't have to be like ecstatically happy about it, but I also don't need to flip out and let it ruin my day. And maybe I can find some humorous element in there that makes it easier for me to absorb, but also easier for other people. Because like I've said before, like, I watch comedians are always just like complaining about things, but it's funny. And so it's easy to listen to and it's enjoyable. And so I've been getting better at doing that. Just trying to make sure that I allow myself to express what's going on, whether that's, even if that's like difficult things like fear of death, pain in my body, things that are hard for other people to hear about, but this is what I'm going through. But trying to soften that a little bit with humor. And I notice that's hard. I don't think that's easy. I think being a comedian is like really hard. Being funny is actually like a very nuanced thing. It won't connect with everybody. But I notice that I'm getting better at finding my rhythm. I'm getting better at kind of finding my sense of humor that works for me and other people. You know, I'm not overly concerned if like not everybody's going to think my jokes are funny. Not everybody's going to think my sense of humor is, you know, great. But I'm getting better at just being like, all right, this is the best. This is the way I can do it. And this is my best effort. And it's working. I think it's like working for me most of all. Like I'm feeling better. I'm in a better mood. I'm having a better sense of humor about it. I don't know about other people, but on some level, I think it's working for other people too, because, you know, people are less like, oh, you know, here comes Gift. He's going to have some like super heavy shit to talk about. And, oh, you know, like I get more time with people if they're like, well, here comes Gift and he's going to have some heavy shit to say, but it might be funny, you know? And so, yeah, that's getting a lot better for me. And also just, you know, I'm learning a lot through people that I watch online, like this guy that I watch on YouTube who's creating these videos about his. Okay, my video just stopped for some reason. Don't know where it left off, so I'm going to start over and say that a good example for me is recently I have been watching this guy whose name I can't remember. He has a YouTube channel called Wheel Around the World, and he's basically showing what it's like to travel with a disability. And for me, obviously, it's relevant and interesting. And so I've been watching his content, and he's been traveling to Japan, and apparently he even came to Taiwan, but he hasn't posted that yet. I'm looking forward to that video. But it's been very interesting for me to watch because it's like, wow, you know, he's traveling in a wheelchair, and every day you can see that there's just like infinite opportunity for disaster, or, you know, potentially it could be disaster if you let it be, or there's just hurdles every day to everything. And for me, I also get to observe how he handles it. And it's, you know, it's education for me with a disability, actually. Like, how am I going to handle these situations when I go to travel, or not even when I travel, when I just leave the house and I'm going around, because those things happen to me every day anyways. And, you know, for example, he's, one of his videos I was watching, he's in Italy, and he books a hotel that says they're disability accessible, and he gets there and it's not. He can't even get to the hotel because the road is just completely inaccessible. And, you know, and he has a moment where it's like, obviously that's not okay. You can't advertise that the hotel is accessible when it's not, if you can't actually get there. So, you know, I'm observing how he handles this, and it's like, all right, you know, he has to stand up for himself, and at the same time he tries to, you know, inject a tiny bit of humor into it, make jokes while it's still serious, and find that balance in there with, you know, addressing things, standing up for himself, but also not completely flipping out and not letting the situation like constrict him and like ruin his day. You know, he's still got to like, all right, now what? You know, go on. You got to find another place, and, you know, what are we going to do here? And for me, that's been good to see, because I see how I'm getting closer to being able to do things like that better. Like, you know, the hurdles don't go away in my life, but the way I respond to them is improving a lot. And because of that, it's making my life better. My mood is better, so my experience is better. My interactions with people are better. You know, I'm not just like completely turning people off because I'm like, I'm fucking pissed about shit, and they don't care, or they don't understand. And then I'm even more. And yeah, and I think, you know, for me, a critical element of that has also been humor, like really focusing on like like being honest, allowing myself to express myself, and finding a way to soften everything with humor. And I know that I've listened to some people talk about, like, that could be dangerous because humor could be a form of bypassing difficult emotions and stuff. And I get that too. But at the same time, I think like humor is such a powerful tool because it just softens things. Like if I can complain about something I've been through and tell a story that is difficult with humor, people can listen to it and people can like enjoy the story better than if I share an experience that's just all frustration, all bitterness, all anger, all complaining, because like people don't really, even me, it's hard to listen to somebody just complain and bitch about things. Not that you don't empathize, not that you don't feel bad, but it's really hard to take. But it's easy to listen to somebody criticize and complain about things if it's funny. I mean, almost all comedians do this, right? So that's been something important for me to see. And yeah, it's improving things and getting better, and the world's staying the same mostly, and I continue to evolve. So that's my 10 minutes, and thanks for watching. Happy Monday.